Why some say Bobi Wine should team up with the West, and why others say no, he should not team up with the West. Well, I have the full story right here, and I'll be telling you why they think so and why they think the otherwise as well. Both the advantage and the disadvantages of teaming up with the West. I have all the details right here for you. Welcome to the deep dive on Streetwise Politics. Now, let's go straight into the topic where I'll be telling you, I'll be giving full analysis and the reasons, the advantages and the disadvantages of why Bobi Wine should team up with the West and why he should not team up with the West. Now, I have just only 3 advantages for you. And then the number 1 is the international pressure can protect opposition. Remember that international pressure can protect opposition. The global attention in terms of media, NGOs, then the government as well, has sometimes reduced regime crackdowns and exposed abuses. For example, the Oscar-nominated documentary about him increased international visibility and curtails some regime exercises. Now, it's very simple. Why do I say so? Meaning, Western attention can act as a shield. So if Bobi Wine team up with the West, the foreign or the Western protection can also make him a little bit adjust as a shield. So you're like, okay, fine. If Museveni and his son Muhoozi want to touch him, they'll find it difficult getting close to him as well. Now, let's also move on to the number 2. Why people say he should team up with the West. Now, he already appeals to the West, to the Western influence on aid. Bobi Wine has repeatedly urged the US and the European Union to stop funding Museveni's government, arguing that foreign support helps sustain repression. And then he also made it clear that he is not asking foreigners to remove the regime, only to stop sponsoring the oppression. So, in practical aspect of what he is trying to say in this aspect is that he already uses international leverage as part of his strategy. So it's very simple. If you stop funding Museveni and the NRM party, who Museveni happened to be the leader and the son happened to be the assistant as it's going now, if it happened that they stop sponsoring them with this, the leverage will be okay. That will be easy for them to also have an access to operate. But here's the case: if the Western continue to support them, meaning that the opposition has nothing to do about that. Now let's go to the number 3 on the list. The number 3 on the list is diplomatic legitimacy. Diplomatic legitimacy matters opposition movements often need. Now, election observers, human rights advocates, sanctions pressure, this can strengthen claims of electoral fraud and repression. So why others say? So you understand now. It's very simple that you will understand why Bobi Wine is teaming up with the West. Now, some are in support of him teaming up with the West. Let's look at the disadvantages of teaming up with the West. Now, why others say you should not team up with the West? It fuels foreign puppet accusations. Museveni repeatedly claims the opposition is backed by parasitic foreigners. Such narrative can justify crackdowns and reduce his domestic legitimacy. In African politics, being seen as Western-backed can hurt popularity, and that is true. If Africans see you as being backed by the foreigners, especially the Western world and the European world, it's going to be like, yes, now you are being a puppet to the Western world. So anything that the community or the country in Africa says to you, you will never listen. So in that case, everybody will try to go backwards in terms of trying to communicate with you. It's never going to flow very, very well. Now let's go on with the number 2. The West is seen as inconsistency. Yes, the West is seen as inconsistent. Why is it so? They are seen as inconsistent because they've tried to help, pretend to be helping you, but rather they are killing you. What happened way back to Libya? If you remember way back in Libya, what happened that time, you understand what exactly I'm talking about right here. You understand? So even Bobi Wine himself criticizes Western government for prioritizing strategic deals over human rights. Some some analytics argue Western support is unrealistic and interest driven. Risk of sovereignty backlash in many African countries. Foreign involvement triggers nationalism. Government uses it to lead opposition as neo-colonial agents. So you see, here's the thing. If you are being backed by the foreigners, there are going to be a lot of backlash from your own people, because there's going to be a time where you have to listen to whatever they say. Then they'll tell you what to do. Even when they lend you money, they tell you what you should use the money for. You can't use your brain to do what you want to do, but they rather have to give you a brain to use. And that is the problem. That is the disadvantage of teaming up with the West. So teaming up with the West in terms of the neo-colonial agent, it can also divide the voters as well. The voters will be deciding, okay, should we vote for him or not? Now, look at some of the things. What's the most analytic conclusion? And the realistic strategy is usually not team up with fully support of the Western, but use relative engagement, meaning seek international pressure on human rights, avoid looking controlled by foreign powers, build strongest support inside Uganda first. A simple way to think about it. Too close to the West loses domestic credibility. Too distant loses global protection and leverage. So the real strategy is balance, not alignment. So balance it, but do not align with the West. And that is what